Hello and welcome to our deep dive into the world of Canadian beer. When you think of Canada, you might picture vast forests, majestic mountains, and maybe even a moose or two. But did you know Canada has a rich and frothy history when it comes to brewing? That's right, from coast to coast, this country is bubbling with incredible beers. And today, we're going on a tasting tour without ever leaving our seats. So grab a cold one, get comfortable, and let's explore the story of Canadian beer. Our journey begins way back, long before Canada was even a country. Indigenous peoples across the continent were brewing their own unique beverages from things like corn, birch sap, and various local plants. Fast forward to the 17th century, when European settlers arrived, bringing their brewing traditions with them. The very first commercial brewery in Canada was opened in Quebec City in 1668 by Jean Talon, the intendant of New France. He wanted to provide a wholesome alternative to hard liquor and reduce reliance on imported French brandy. This brewery, called La Brasserie du Roi, or the King's Brewery, laid the foundation for a brewing industry that would become an integral part of Canadian culture. As Canada grew, so did its thirst for beer. Pioneers and settlers pushing westward brought their brewing skills with them. In the 19th century, names that are still famous today began to emerge. John Labatt founded his brewery in London, Ontario, in 1847, and John Molson, who had started his brewery in Montreal way back in 1786, saw his company flourish. These weren't just businesses, they were community cornerstones. Breweries were often the largest employers in town, and their founders became influential figures in politics and society. The style of beer they brewed was heavily influenced by their British roots, think rich ales and hearty stouts. However, the influx of German and other European immigrants started to introduce a new, crisp, and refreshing style. The lager, lighter beer was a game-changer, perfectly suited for the Canadian palate, and it quickly became the dominant style. By the late 1800s, lagers were king, and the big three, Molson, Labatt, and Sleeman, which was founded in 1834, began to establish their dominance over the national market. But then came a dry spell, literally. The early 20th century brought the temperance movement and prohibition. From about 1916 to the late 1920s, the sale of alcohol was banned in most provinces. It was a tough time for brewers. Many had to shut down, while others pivoted to producing near beer with almost no alcohol or soft drinks. However, prohibition wasn't a complete success. It drove drinking underground, and, funnily enough, some Canadian breweries found a lucrative, albeit risky, business smuggling beer south of the border to the United States, which was also under its own prohibition laws. When prohibition was finally repealed, the Canadian beer landscape had changed. Only the largest, most resilient breweries had survived, leading to a period of consolidation. The market became dominated by a few massive companies, and for decades, the beer choices for most Canadians were pretty limited. You could get a Canadian lager or, well, a Canadian lager. This era of big beer dominance lasted for a long time. But by the 1980s, something new was fermenting. A handful of passionate beer lovers, tired of the same old options, decided to take matters into their own hands. They started small, independent breweries, focusing on flavor, tradition, and variety. This was the birth of the Canadian craft beer revolution. One of the pioneers was Granville Island Brewing in Vancouver, which opened in 1984, becoming Canada's first modern microbrewery. They brought back traditional styles like pale ales, porters, and IPAs, re-educating the public's palate. Others followed suit, like Brick Brewing in Waterloo, Ontario, and Big Rock Brewery in Calgary, Alberta. These trailblazers faced an uphill battle, competing against the massive marketing budgets of the big guys. But their dedication to quality and craftsmanship won them a loyal following. They showed Canadians that beer could be more than just a light, fizzy beverage. It could be complex, flavorful, and exciting. Today, the craft beer scene in Canada is absolutely explosive. There are over 1,000 craft breweries spread across every province and territory. From the salty air of a Newfoundland brewery to a funky spot in downtown Toronto or a rustic brewery in the British Columbia interior, each one has its own unique story and style. This boom has led to an incredible diversity of beer. Let's talk about some of the styles that have become distinctly Canadian. Of course, the classic Canadian lager is still popular, a clean, crisp, and highly drinkable beer. But now, you'll find so much more. The East Coast is famous for its robust English-style ales and stouts. Quebec has a vibrant scene influenced by Belgian traditions, producing amazing saisons, triples, and sour beers. Ontario is a hotbed of experimentation, especially with hop-forward IPAs. And out west in British Columbia, often called the birthplace of Canadian craft beer, you'll find a love for Pacific Northwest-style IPAs, packed with citrus and pine notes from local hops. What makes Canadian craft beer truly special, though, is its connection to local ingredients. Many brewers are passionate about using what's grown in their own backyard. Canadian-grown barley is some of the best in the world. And while we're not as famous for hops as our American neighbors, regions like British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec are producing unique and flavorful hop varieties. Brewers are also getting creative with other local additions. You can find beers brewed with maple syrup from Quebec, spruce tips from the boreal forest, wild berries from the prairies, and even locally roasted coffee. This terroir, this sense of place, is what gives so many Canadian craft beers their unique character and charm. It's a taste of Canada in a glass. Let's take a quick regional tour. In the Maritimes, breweries like Alexander Keith's in Nova Scotia have a long history, but newer spots like Garrison, Brewing, and Propeller are making waves with modern styles. Move over to Quebec, and you can't talk about beer without mentioning Unibrew. They were instrumental in introducing Belgian-style beers to North America, and their classics like La Fin du Monde are world-renowned. But don't stop there. Adieu du Ciel and Trou du Diable are pushing the boundaries with incredibly creative and delicious brews. In Ontario, the scene is massive. From Bellwoods Brewery and Great Lakes Brewery in Toronto, known for their hazy IPAs, to Beau's All-Natural Brewing Company, which focuses on organic ingredients, the variety is endless. Heading to the prairies, you'll find gems like Half Pints in Manitoba, Last Best in Alberta, and Paddock Wood in Saskatchewan, all creating fantastic beers that reflect their local identity. Finally, in British Columbia, the options are staggering. From the legendary Phillips Brewing in Victoria to the innovative Four Winds in Delta. And the iconic Driftwood Brewery, BC, is a paradise for beer lovers, with a strong focus on hoppy ales and experimental brews. So what's the future of Canadian beer? The craft beer movement shows no signs of slowing down. We're seeing more and more specialization. Some breweries are focusing exclusively on sour beers, others on barrel aging, and many are committed to using 100% local ingredients. Non-alcoholic craft beer is also a huge growing trend, offering all the flavor without the alcohol. The industry is also becoming more inclusive and community-focused. Breweries are often gathering places, hosting events, supporting local artists, and raising money for charities. They are reclaiming their historical role as pillars of the community. And as consumers, we are more educated and adventurous than ever. We're seeking out new flavors, supporting local businesses, and celebrating the incredible creativity of our brewers. From a humble brewery in 17th century Quebec to 1,000+ vibrant craft breweries today, the story of Canadian beer is a story of resilience, innovation, and passion. It reflects the country's history, its diverse culture, and its deep connection to the land. So next time you're looking for a drink, I encourage you to explore what your local Canadian brewers have to offer. You might just find your new favorite beer. It's a fantastic way to support a local business and taste the creativity that's brewing all across this great country. Cheers to that! Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey through Canada's beer history, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Let us know in the comments what your favorite Canadian beer or brewery is. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, stay curious and drink responsibly. Cheers.